Hello, I'm Scratch. He's Dennis. This is our AOE Leagues Season 9 Bracket 2 Showcase Review, in which case we will be presenting a PowerPoint that will show some very brief notes that we've compiled of our showcase players from Bracket Q. And here we go.
Yeah, at this point, by the time you see this video, we have player profiles from almost all the players. Some players we couldn't really capture information on. We wanted to just talk about their home map selections, how players generally have gone about the different games that we've reviewed, and give you an overall view in one video on all the players that we're going to cover in Division Q.
Yep, there's definitely some gaps, and we address those first. So first of all, we have Korn. We got in a showcase for him. His home map's Ghost Lake. His last played game on that map was 3 years and 6 months ago, and his best civ that we could capture was Japanese.
Yeah, it's interesting how some of the players, especially the ones where we don't have showcase on, it's going to be interesting how they play because they really. It's been a while since I've played, especially even if they did play quite recently, like 6 months ago or something like that. The home map selection was even further behind than that. Like for example, over here, Eli is the player name where the home map is 4 lakes. But the player has apparently never played on this map, according to AOE 2 Insights at least. Yeah, it's going to be really. These are all kind of wildcard players where we don't really know what to expect, and we're looking forward to how they end up playing in the tournament.
And it's kind of exciting in that way. Violet Inia is another one. She has played. She has games on
Yeah,
record, but
this was
well,
more of a technical issue from our side where we
yeah,
don't really know how to backpatch and get the game to review
yeah.
right now. But we'll get there. We're looking at options, but at the moment of this recording, we don't have that capability yet. So, but yeah,
And
it looks like she is mainlining Arabia in ranked games, so she could do well in the tournament scratch.
yeah, and Violet Inia, they had a lot of history, but it was specifically on death matches, and it seemed to be against one other player, presumably like a friend, that they go on
Oh yeah,
and play
yeah, yeah,
with them.
that's true. They are
We didn't have a lot of other history for us to use though for this.
okay. Yeah,
I
yeah.
and I did want to bring this up. The two tournaments that Dennis and I have history with, they had a caveat for I'm guessing this purpose of the players had to be active within I think the last month, um, and we didn't have that here. It's not a call out or anything, but it is something that we noticed that we do have gaps in our information in our showcases because of this. Um, there's certain players who are just we're not going to know. Our first experience with them is going to be their recorded games. But now we're moving on to the players that we have info on. Bejelzy, the first showcase we did, it was definitely probably the most scuffed video, so we apologize for that. But Dennis, what do we know about Bejelzy?
That's a good question. It's been a while. We've actually recorded multiple games in the past 2 days, so
Yeah,
I don't really know. The games kind of merge well with one another, so I don't really know. But it does look like Bijelzi is been active recently. Been kind of grinding arena, being so it's quite likely that Bijelzi would be cooking up something for the tournament. So that's something
yeah.
that's exciting to see always.
And on the game that we did review, we couldn't get an arena game, but we watched a Wade game. I remember Bijelzi had a really good sense of what to do next. He retreated from the central gold position on Wade, and then when he launched his counterattack that ultimately won him the game, he had the sense to take back that position and continue mining gold in the event that the game went late. And as a person who suffers severely from tunnel vision myself, that was really refreshing to see. So even though I believe he's a bit lower on the elo side, or he might even be the lowest, that was pretty cool to see. All right, Krillin. Krillin is the player that I've definitely hyped up a little bit. Um, we've got a lot of hideout for his home map. Last played a month and 2 weeks ago. He's got a high of 900 elo, but he seems to be maybe in a bit of a slump, which it happens. Khmer, which is I think is Khmer still your favorite civ, Dennis?
Yeah, Khmer is still my favorite civ, but when you're in tournaments, you always need a good second pick, and Krillin
Mhm.
seems to be prepared with Saracens if Khmer is banned. So, and I'm sure I think there were more civs with good number of games. So Krillin should become prepared with the game,
Yeah.
but. Yeah, let's see how this goes. And also, with 1 month, 2 weeks ago, it's also with the ranked map pool that could also play a factor in being able to play
Mhm.
Fight Out. Not really sure how that goes, but Scratch has hyped up this player the most and
It's true.
has probably referenced this player at least in two more player showcase videos. So
I was
something to
very
look forward
excited
to.
about this game. Unfortunately, Krillin was one of the ones that I had to review solo because of time constraints. But the reason I've hyped them up is probably because of that, because it was just me. But Krillin had a very YOLO strategy in both games, very dark age aggression and enclosed, which ultimately he lost. In Arabia, we had a phenomenal castle drop into a closeout, which he won. So my notes are exactly what we see on the screen. He's a very aggressive player who likes to stick to his plan, but perhaps that doesn't always work out for him. You should take this one, Dennis.
Queued back up. Do I really remember this game? Really good at building farm economy. Oh yeah, okay. I don't really remember the entire game, but what I remember is we looked at an arena and a Shoals game from Cute Back Hub, and was really impressed with the farm economy. Always had like 50 farms at the time the games went, but I
Yeah.
do remember something along the lines of the armies being not as active,
Yeah.
and
This was the guy who had he had 6 or 7 castles on one position, and he was really good at holding that position and maintaining the front, but could probably diversify his targets with his
also
military.
very
Needed to
slow
wait.
towards military creation, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not wrong, if I remember correctly. But again, another player who has been active with this home map, so yeah, looking forward to how this player moves through the tournament. And
Yeah.
yeah, if uh, I'm one of the things that I also hope this video provides is if you're going up against players, some of the times when you look at AOE2 insights and you just don't really scroll past the player's best civ by AOE2 insights, which is not really accurate in a lot of cases because they just go by win rates. But in this elo, it's more about games played, where a player is generally comfortable with. But it's also helpful if the last few games are by one Civ, then you can pick the Civ ban based on the recent familiarity or overall familiarity and pick your Civ bans that way. So it's just something to think
Very.
about. Yeah.
No, it's very true. Like if even now, if you look up my profile, you're probably gonna instantly ban Byzantines. But Byzantines are not my best civ; they're just my most played civ.
Yeah, if you
So
go up against Scratch, remember to go look for archers and ban Vikings and civs like that. And
Vikings,
you,
Britons, Magyars, yeah.
yeah. A lot more versatile now, so it's a little bit harder for this tournament format, but
Mm-hmm.
it would kind of work out for you.
Okay, the pun. Okay, Dennis had to explain this to me. This is another one that I watched solo. This guy's name is I'm Bulgarian the team, but I'm silly and I shortened it to Bulgarian. And then Dennis mentions this morning that Bulgarians is his best civ, and the pun clicked in my head, and I'm very mad that I didn't see that earlier. It's a great pun. Let's see.
So yeah,
Picked Arena, but we watched Arabia. He's very active. He's last played today. That's cool, and he has the highest, I think, the highest achieved elo at some point, if I remember correctly. This guy.
yeah, and this was not last play today, so we don't really review the latest game. So he's still kind of preparing and focusing on getting to know the arena map, and hopefully gets good through the tournament. I expect all the players in this bracket, especially, to uh, improve drastically over the course
Oh
of the
yeah,
tournament. So the player positions are likely to shift more dynamically in this group,
oh
especially.
wait, you had to go back. We didn't talk about the game.
Okay, yeah, go
In
for
the
it.
game for Bulgarian that I watched in Arabia, he he had a plan and he overcommitted, I think, to that plan. He had a castle drop, and then once he was in his opponent's base, he made sure to do his due diligence and raise it all down. Unfortunately, at the detriment to his home base because his opponent knew how to raid. Um, Ultimately, it was I think a pretty close game. Um, but again, that's Arabia, very different vibe than Arena. So maybe he's a little better on that home map. All right.
Yeah,
We
this
have
is this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk about is how do players in this bracket pick their home maps. This is something that if you're watching and if you're a player in this bracket, please do let us know in the comments because a lot of home maps have not been played for a long periods of time. So, are you looking for comfort? Are you looking to make your opponent comfortable? What is the strategy that you think about when you pick your home maps?
yeah.
And
And how comfortable can you really be on a map if you haven't played it in 7 months, right?
yeah. Maybe
Um,
you were good
they are
7 months ago. Maybe you took a break. I'm not really sure.
okay.
But yeah, it's something that you can let us know in the comments.
Yeah. So for Anon Khan, he picked Baltic. Hasn't played it in 7 months. His best of is Malay. This game was a awkward game that we watched. I remember Anon Khan was playing Aztecs, and the one thing I remember was that he had his plan. He had this initial castle on the front, and then when that plan failed, it took him some time to recapture the initiative. He did ultimately win that game, but a lot of it seemed to be largely due to the passive nature of his opponent. It was a pretty hard fought win, but definitely needs to maybe work on settling back into that footing and recapturing the initiative when he loses it. Um, Otherwise, a player who can abuse and exploit that initiative loss is going to crush him. But I have high hopes. I definitely think there's good bones there, and he can improve a lot.
Yeah, and you picked Baltic, and your best save is Malay. So I don't know if fish traps is a plan. So looking forward to seeing you in the tournament, Anoncon.
Yeah. Okay, King Gaz. This is the guy that we're really hoping we reviewed the correct game. I believe Dennis did mention he has sent a DM to this player, but I don't think it's been responded to.
Yeah,
So
because if
fingers crossed.
you look at the profile that we looked at, uh, migration is the home map, but King Gaz didn't really have any team, any 1v1 game on migration. Didn't really have too many games on even water maps that I could see. It was mostly arena and Arabia, but arena with the positive win rate, so it looked more like an Arabia arena player. I don't know if we picked the right profile, but if we did, it's interesting. Home map selection again, so we'd like to know in the comments, or you could DM us in Discord or wherever you find us in the tournament
Yeah,
Discord. So yeah,
yeah, we should mention that also for those that haven't noticed, and I think most of you have, but for those that haven't noticed, we do have a presence in the AOE Leagues Discord, and neither of us are going to be upset about a DM. So if we got something wrong, just shoot us a DM and let us know. Or if you want to yell at us because our opinions are bad, go for it. We'd love to hear from you. Um, this game probably has the most notes on it because we watched it this morning. That was a very wild, chaotic game of Arena, and I think Gaz definitely needs to work on just sticking to his build order and sticking to his comp, and but also like figuring out the goal of what he needs and then sticking to it. There was a lot of kind of odd counter choices. And definitely some delays once we got up to Imperial. Once we reached that end game, it kind of felt like the goal showed up then and not really earlier, which I think definitely is something that could be exploited by an opponent. So hopefully, guys can work on that.
good job with the relic control though. So that was a positive
Yeah,
in the game that we
yeah,
watched. Yeah.
4 relics like from the beginning. The grabbing of the relics on those games that was a lot, and that wasn't by chance. That was definitely a calculated
Risk.
series of
Yeah.
decisions that handled really well. Yeah. Painter. This was Dennis's favorite game, I think, that we watched. So I'm gonna let him talk.
Oh, it's been a while. I mean, it was yesterday, but we, like I said,
It has been a while.
we reviewed like 4 to 6 players in the last 2 days. So I don't
This
really.
was the guy who had the opponent wall up on the
Oh, this was
hamburger in
okay.
Megarandom.
So we
Yeah,
actually had like a mega random game that we watched, and it was like a hamburger map in the end. We didn't really find Wade in the games. The last game on the map was 2 weeks ago. Uh, I don't recollect why we didn't watch that particular game, but we ended up watching the Mega Random game anyway. And Painter really had good decision making and good army selections. Of course, in this elo, there was some hesitation here and there, which is natural, I think. But yeah, overall, really good selection. There was a point where two cannon galleons or three cannon galleons were trying to take down a castle, and that was being repaired, and you couldn't really contest the cannon galleon at that point. Uh, maybe focus would be on cutting down the trees, but essentially uh, that could have been avoided. But overall, played really well,
yeah.
and I don't think you were down or any
I
counter chances were available most of the game. So it was really good game from Painter. I think the display was solid. I think it's going to be a really good competitor in the tournament.
I definitely think the repairing of the castle was not a mistake by any means. It was just a unoptimal choice.
Yeah,
It was
it, it,
definitely a
it wasn't
position that was
necessary
dog.
for Painter to win, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah, and but it's not necessary that Painter lost by repairing. There was still
correct,
like
correct.
600 stone or something in the bank by the time
Hmm,
the
hmm.
opponent resigned. So yeah, it was definitely felt like a solid player in the random map, and
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and there are random map players in the opponent, like you see with player D, and last played 5 days ago, less than a week. So I'm guessing that was just more like scheduling, where D is still playing, and another Byzantines enjoy it, just like Scratch.
Yep.
What do you think about the
Uh,
game, Scratch?
I remember this game was very aggressive from feudal onward. One thing that D wound up taking his opponent's town center out with a detachment of battering rams, some camels, and some pikemen. His opponent did resign early, but it was definitely once D had the aggression, he did not let up. It was definitely maybe not the cleanest game, but he knew what he wanted to do and he kept doing it. And that was really cool to see. We've definitely got a mix of players. We've got some eco balance players. We've got some early aggressive players, and D's definitely on the early aggressive side of things.
Cool. Any closing thoughts?
I'm really excited. I'm a little nervous about the three wild cards, or that we totally botched it and Gaz is not who we thought he was. But I'm hoping that we're right, and I'm excited to see the games that we have, or the games that I think we're up to 3 sets right now, that we need to dive into later on this week. I'm excited. I think it's going to be really cool. I think there's a good mix of players, and I think that there's clearly a lot of different skill levels. Certain players are better at certain things than others, and I think that we're really going to see that in these upcoming sets.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to covering the games, and hope you enjoyed the player showcase so far. If you've not caught them, it should be already in the channel by the time this video drops. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you in your games.
And before we close it out, I do want to say that this would be an excellent video for a review of us so far. The whole impetus behind this channel was that we wanted to put the spotlight on the lower elo brackets of a tournament, and that we would do exactly this. We would find those players and try and give them a showcase so that we, the casters, could have a little bit of an understanding of who these players are, how they play, and whatnot. And clearly, I do not think we met that goal 100%. So if you have any critiques or concerns about how we went about doing this, please let us know in the comments, because then when we move on to our next tournament, we'll be able to do that much better.
Yeah, and thank you so much for watching. And if you're a viewer who's just want to follow the tournament, thank you so much for watching as well. Like and subscribe the channel to get the notifications on the new videos that we post every day, or not every day, probably
When we can.
at least a video a week, most likely, as we cover this tournament. And and yeah, and also a notification bell if you want notifications whenever we drop videos, because our schedules are not going to be regular necessarily, but we would likely have at least a video dropping every week. With the tournament rounds, we are lagging behind a week, so we should have Rex to look into at least one
Yeah,
video, yeah, a
yeah.
week.
We purposefully chose to do YouTube because trying to do the games live would mean that we would have to balance each other's time zones as well as the two players' time zones. And let's be honest, we've got some people on uh, the in the American time zone brackets, and we've got Australia in here as well. There's a lot. There's a lot of juggling if we tried to do this live, and so I'm glad we chose YouTube because it allows us to kind of have that wiggle room of falling behind a little bit and then catching up. I definitely don't want to commit to a regular schedule yet, but we will be sending out the actual bracket coverage from now on. Now that we've caught up on the showcase, so Dennis is right. Like, subscribe, all that jazz, and then hit the notification bell so that when our schedule becomes irregular, you get made aware of when the new stuff is dropping.
All right, thanks a lot, everyone.
Have a good night.